As part of my series of being autodidactic, I thought I would show you the other thing that I'm passionate about, which is making bags. I have made a number of really cute and cool bags. And behind me is my Singer 20U33 sewing machine. I had to search for this machine for a long time, and I was lucky enough to find it from a lady. It costs $250, so I got it on the cheap, because these machines, when you go look for them, they're at least $600. It is industrial, and it can do freeform embroidery and do about 2,000 stitches per minute, so it can sew regular and do wonderful stuff like this. So no, there's no computer in it. I had to do that by myself. But here's what we're working on today. This is my wallet. I love this wallet. I have had this wallet for probably over 10 years, but as you can see, it's not hanging in there. It's starting to die. It's got a place for a checkbook. It's got a place for my license and all of my cards, and inside a place to hold my change and the rest of my stuff. These are hard to find. You can't find them anywhere. So today we're going to pattern this out and make it for ourselves. And if you want the pattern, I will put it in the description for you to get a link to and get for yourself. Okay? All right, let's make this thing. As you can see on my mat, I've written the inches down so that I know what I'm looking at when I'm going. Usually though, I will put it about an inch apart and then look at it this way because it's just easier, but then I can get confused about the inches. So we're gonna put it this way so that we know for sure. But it looks like it's 7.5 by 8 inches, which means we're gonna add about 1/2 inch to each side when we're mapping it out. And we're gonna map it out on good old freezer paper because it works really well for patterns. Okay, so I've got all the parts cut out of this pattern and it's quite a lot. There's quite a few sections, quite a few other things. So here are all the parts to the wallet. First we have the outer lining, the inner lining, and then another lining for the coin purse, plus 2 of the interfacing, or rather the stabilizer. This is just extra in case I need it for some other part. Then we have the checkbook bottom, which is just the lining material for that. The wallet part, the inner pockets, the top of the wallet that folds over. This is the checkbook bottom stabilizer, the checkbook top stabilizer, and the side folding to make it so that when we unzipper that part where we have the coin purse, that we can open it up and it widens out. So, and that is this part on the side right here. Okay, let's put this thing together. This part is 2 5/8 by 3 3/4. What I would suggest for this is just get the piece of plastic that you want. You're gonna need a durable plastic. And then what you're gonna do is you're just gonna put bias tape around it to be your, because that's basically all this is. So, and then you can secure it on top. I'm just going to reuse what they had or what I had on the last one. So at this point of the project, I have cut down the stabilizer just so that when I sew and invert this, that it won't take up the stabilizer won't be in the way. So I've done that for both the outer piece and for where the pocketbook is going to be, just so that there's stabilization there. And then the next thing I did is I have measured how far down from the top this is. It's about 2 inches down from the top, so I'm going to give it 2 1/4 inches down. I would like this to be the top, so I'm going to measure 2 1/4 inches down from the top, and that's where I'm going to put my my snap. Okay, so it's really important that you know which side is going to fold over and which one is going to be your bottom. So the side that is 8 inches, remember, is going to be the bottom and the top. And the one that is longer, 8 1/2 or 8 3/4, is going to be the part that folds over. So it's very important not to get them confused, because If you get them confused, it's going to wreck the project. Usually on a project like this, I will do some zigzag stitch around the edge of it. But for this project, I am using a stability glue, which is right here called Liquid Stitch. It costs about $1. It's at Walmart. And it's just going to keep it so that it doesn't fray later on. So this was actually, with the interfacing on the back, going to be my back piece for the wallet, which I will make another piece for this, but I'm changing things up a little bit. This is actually going to be for my cards, and what I'm going to be ending up doing is sewing in this all around so that it's finished. I did glue the edges so it won't fray, so that there's like a seal on the edges, and then I'm gonna just sew this all around and then make this into my card holder. And I think that that's just the way that they created that part on here is just a little too nuts, so I'm gonna do it this way because I don't like the way they did it. So here we have the checkbook bottom, and I've cut the stabilizer. It's going to go here, and then what we want to do is we want to fold over this piece so that it is pushed, the stabilizer is pushed all the way into that fold, so you should have a little bit of space on the bottom and on the sides, and that's going to give you the stability for the bottom of the checkbook. Okay, I know this is difficult to see because it's all black, but here is the bottom part, which is going to be for the checkbook. And I'm going to sew that on. Then this is the part that is for my cards, and that's going to be up here. And then I had a mistake earlier where I messed up my wallet, and what I'm going to do is, because I cut it too small, so I'm going to use that as the top cover for my checkbooks here, so you can see what that will look like. So all that is just some interfacing and the top fabric and the lining, and I just cut it too small, and so I'm just going to reuse it. Okay, so here I have sewn it all together, and I made this a little bit smaller still because when I sew this all together, it's going to be too big otherwise. So, and it might get caught in this area on either side. This area, we've got pockets on either side, and then the coin purse is going to sit in the center. I haven't made the coin purse yet, but that'll be the next thing I do. But after I sew this down, now I've glued this fabric so that it's not going to fray or become an issue for me later. Okay, so this piece is 11 long by 7 wide, and what we're going to do is we've already put some interfacing in it. We're going to sew it, turn it inside out, and then fold it in half, put a zipper in it, and that's going to be our change purse. So I am going to be using this zipper. I know it doesn't match necessarily my project, but it is the right length. I need about 6-inch zipper. And it is a little tough because it's metal, and I didn't like that. So this is beeswax that I use for my thread, and I'm just gonna put it on there. And whenever you have a zipper that's being kind of weird like that, where it doesn't want to open really well, you can just use a little bit of beeswax or wax of some kind, and look at that, opens perfectly now. So here's the original accordion fold from the wallet I took apart, and I have had to recreate it here. And instead of folding it in half, which is what I originally did, I'm gonna leave it open. I'm gonna sew the edges. I've already put glue around so I don't have to worry about the edges fraying. And then what I'm going to do is put it, here it is sewed to the zipper pack, which is already done, and one side of it being sewed on. And so what you do is you just fold it in half after you've sewed around the edges, put the raw side on the inside, sew it right here, but don't go all the way to the bottom because we still got to connect it to the bottom of this, which is going to go down right about here after I connect it to the other side. Okay, so once you have it sewn on one side, then what you need to do is sew down the bottom, because that needs to go in first before you can sew the sides. And you want to line up the sides with that top pocket. You want to line up the bottom half with the bottom of those pockets, so everything stays together. So line it up there, and then line up the top with these pockets, sew it all together, and you should have your accordion fold. When we're getting ready to do the final sew together of the outer layer, you're going to want to make sure that these are tucked in really well. All right, so now we have the zipper on one side, and as you can see, it's going to be on the other side. Make sure when you put on the zipper that you can see the teeth. You can see I've put it on the outside of it. Also, I went ahead and basted down this area here so that it's folded over just like on the other area, so that when we put this together, I don't have to worry about any raw edges. And then after we put the zipper on, we'll put the zipper pull on and move on to the next step. Okay, even though we just put on the zipper, I think the next step is going to be basting all this down to give it a finished edge on this side, because after this, we have to attach the top. Be sure to give yourself mitered edges so that when you do this, they fold down amongst themselves. Now this one's going to be tricky because there's another thing there. There we go. There we are. So I've already ironed my interfacing on this side. This is the top flap that's going to go over, and here's the back of it. I'm going to sew them right sides together so that I can flip this over. Now I would put the snap on, but I'm not exactly sure where to place it yet. Probably needs to just be right here, but I'm a little concerned about what that's going to look like when I'm done, so I'm gonna wait until the very end, and I'll probably have to cover the snap with a button or something, because it is going to be seen. So we're finally at the point where we can attach this front flap, which is going to go here, and I want to make sure that the zipper is coming from the left over to the right, and we're going to attach that onto the back. And then the final step will be to put the outer on and the clasp, because we've got everything else. See, I got the zipper pull and everything. Because of how I did the rest of the pieces by bringing in the edging and folding them over, I'm going to do that to the outer piece as well, so that it does also have a finished edge when I sew it to the final piece. Here is the finished project. As you can see, I have the area for my checkbook, and my license goes here. That's just a picture of my daughter when she was little. And all of my credit cards. And here's the area in the back for my change and the pockets on either side. Now, what I would recommend with this project, you can see this is off the center, so it would be good to, of course, measure twice before you cut or do anything. Also, rounding the corners would have been an easier thing for me to do on this project, and I should have here and to put in the zipper. So some things to keep in mind also in the back area. Rounding the corners would have been a better idea. Okay. If you have a project you've been putting off, listen, today is the best day to start. Why put off tomorrow what you could get done today and learn from? I love this thing. And I mean, yes, it was frustrating. And yes, it took a lot more time than I thought. And yes, I made lots of mistakes. But I'm so happy I did it, because now it's mine and I'm proud of it. And the next time I start this project or a project like it, I've learned. I know what not to do. Let me just encourage you. Being autodidactic is the harder road, and it's the road less traveled, but it is worth it because you can be proud of what you've accomplished. Join me in this next video, one that I recorded earlier, that talks about the journey from going from being ashamed of being autodidactic into being someone who's proud.